So, okay boys, we are back now. So, we have already discussed about this principal part of the free gyroscope. Now, we will talk about how the free gyroscope behaves on the Earth's surface. Let us see. So, this is the Earth, and the Earth is spinning at the rate of say omega. Now, that free gyroscope which I talked about, which is kept in the space, so pull it down and put it on the top of the pole here. So, as per the principle, the free gyroscope is supposed to point where? To the gyrostar. So, Earth is spinning and it is resting on the top of the pole. So, what happened to the gyro axis? Now, the gyro axis supposed to keep pointing to the gyrostar, but the Earth is spinning. As I said earlier, it will continue to point in the same direction, even if the supporting base of the rotor is turned in whichever direction. So, here the supporting base is the Earth. So, it has to keep pointing to the star. So, to do that, this gyro axis will have an apparent turntable motion in the opposite direction. That is known as drift. That is known as the drift. And what will be the rate of drift? The rate of drift will be omega. Rate of drift will be omega. So, it is a turntable motion, opposite motion, isn't it? What is motion? Motion is nothing but an illusion. So, here also same way, it is an apparent motion. So, you bring back the same free gyroscope on the equator. Now, you see what happened. Place it over here. And same way, it is supposed to keep pointing to the gyrostar. So, in this case, how the gyro axis will behave? In this case, the free gyroscope, then we will have a vertical motion, an apparent vertical motion. That vertical motion which is known as the tilt. So, in this case also the rate of tilt will become omega. So, on the pole there is a drift and on the equator there is a tilt. So, what happened to any other latitude? So, in the latitude there will be drift and tilt both. Say we take it as here. So, again same principle, it is pointing to the gyrostar, it will continue to do so. What happened to the drift and tilt? That particular gyroscope. Now, here this gyroscope which is on the pole, you see the plane which is passing through the center of the Earth. But where here same way, when it is on the equator, the plane is passing through the center of the Earth. But what happened? This gyroscope. So, here we make an imaginary plane which is passing through the center of the Earth. And this plane which is making an angle, say theta. So, now what you see here, you have this is the vector, say omega. This is the vector which is omega. Same omega, if we shift over here, that is the omega, isn't it? Now, this omega this vector will be split into two components. One component will be lying along this plane, which is passing through the center, and another plane which will be passing just 90 degree to that. That means what? Along the meridian. So, one plane will be here, this is the plane, and another one will be along this meridian. Now, this is theta. So, this particular vector, what you see, this particular vector, which is known as that drift. So, it will be same as, it will be omega sin theta, because this is omega, this is theta. So, automatically this component will be omega sin theta. So, what will be the other component? Other component will be this one. This will be omega cos theta. What is theta? Theta nothing but latitude. So, theta is what? Latitude. Oh, this is there. Just a moment. Theta but nothing but latitude. So, that means this is omega sin lat and this will be omega cos lat. So, the omega sin lat is responsible for the rate of drift and omega cos lat is responsible for the rate of tilt. So, it becomes how much? A rate of drift is equal to omega sin lat. A rate of tilt will become omega cos lat. So, this is how it behaves. So, as you see that on the pole there is no tilt but only the drift. As it is thing you are on the equator, there is a tilt but no drift, but any other latitude there will be a drift and the tilt both will be there. Right. Now, what happens this particular part which you see, you turn towards u, then what happened? You see, so you turn towards u, so it will be here like this. Overlapping, never mind, as long as you can understand. So, okay, so this is the equator, this is the meridian. So, the same latitude we take it over here, same latitude, right. In the same latitude, what happened? You have this one, the tilt component. Tilt component is how much? It is the omega sin lat. So, I put this one here, tilt component, that is omega sin lat. Sorry, I made a mistake. Omega cos lat. Omega cos lat. That means what you see, the tilt component lies always 90 degree away from the direction along which the gyro axis is pointing. Here that means gyro axis is pointing where? Gyro axis is pointing this direction. Gyro axis pointing. So, that means tilt component is lying what? 90 degree away from the direction gyro axis is pointing. When the gyro star is lying here. But suppose the gyro star is lying somewhere else. Say gyro star is lying somewhere here. Then what happens? So, here you see that gyro axis will be pointing this direction. So, this angle you take it as azimuth. This angle you take it as azimuth. So, in this case what will be the tilt component? Okay. This tilt component will be lying this direction and which is known as omega cos lat sin azimuth. So, there will be another subcomponent. Another subcomponent will be lying along this axis. Along this axis. and this will be omega cos lat cos azimuth. So now you can see the main vector, that is what? Omega. Now the omega is split into two components. What is omega sin lat? Omega cos lat. Now again, that is if the gyroaxis pointing east to west. But again, when the gyroaxis pointing some other direction, that component, which component? The tilt component, is split into two more sub-component. What is the sub-component? Omega cos lat sin azimuth, another omega cos lat cos azimuth. So this particular one is responsible for rate of tilt. That means here it becomes how much? Omega cos lat sin azimuth. Eventually. So now we look at the equator. Equator, what happened here? Latitude 0 degree. So cos 0 degree 1. Now the azimuth. Azimuth of the star is how much? 90 degree. Sin 90 degree 1. So became what? Omega. Right over there. It has become omega, isn't it? So now when suppose the star is somewhere here, then what happened? Azimuth becomes 0. So rate of tilt also becomes 0. So now you can see that any heavenly body which is pointing maximum east to west direction, the rate of rise or rate of setting will be fastest. Like if you look at the stand on the equator, when the sun is rising, sun rises so fast, setting also so fast. But as it is coming towards the meridian, then what happens? The rate of rise slows down. Rate of rise slows down. And finally, when on the meridian, it becomes 0. So this is how the free gyroscope behaves on the Earth's surface. Now, this gyroscope behaves on the Earth's surface. I hope this thing you have understood. Now, next, what we will talk about, this is what free gyroscope, how the free gyroscope behaves on the Earth's surface. But now we will talk about how these gyrocompass can be terrestrially stabilized. This is what we will have to show. Now say, again green become, no, I'll just avoid it. Okay. Sure, never mind. Now suppose say this is the, oh shit. Okay, I'll do only plane only, it will be better. So this is the line and put it here. So here what happened? We have this free gyroscope lying on the equator again. Now as I said, this particular free gyroscope, when it is placed on the equator and is pointing to the gyrostar, so it will continue to point to the gyrostar, continue to point to the gyrostar. So total time period of this Earth spin is how much? 24 hours solar time. But when you are dealing with the star, it is this sidereal time, that is your 23 hours 56 minutes 04 seconds. So that means the total time period of the tilt, that is also 24 hours. So how it can be terrestrially stabilized? That means in spite of pointing to the star, how about pointing to one of the reference mark on the earth surface? Is it as if, suppose when you are driving, you see all the lampposts are moving in the opposite direction. So what can be done to have the relative bearing of the lamppost same? That means lamppost has to be moved in the same direction with the same speed. Similarly here, that means this gyro axis is to be precessed in the same direction as the earth is spinning and at the same speed. And that can be achieved by applying a force. By applying a force. When you apply a force, then what happens? As I said, it will precess horizontally above the vertical axis. And at the same time, the gyro axis is having what? Is have a tendency to tilt upward. So in that case, there will be a resultant direction will be there. And that plane will be look like your elliptical shape. Elliptical shape. Right. It will look like elliptical shape. So initially what happened when it is pointing to that distinct point? So this is what it look like. Then how much force is applied? Whatever the force, it is to be calculated. On that, based on calculations, it will point to this. So next we will talk about complete thing next class.